South River is focusing on the future. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Local Edition. With me this hour is Mayor Raymond Eppinger of South River. Thanks so much for being with us, Mayor.
Thanks for having me.
You have recently formed a long-range planning committee. Tell us about the purpose of this committee and how long-range are you looking?
Well, this committee is going to focus again on many of the items that the borough provides as services now, looking towards, do we want to continue to provide these services? And if so, are the citizens willing to continue to pay for them? Or are there new things that they'd like to see us do? We're in the early stages of putting the committee together. They're going to be having their first meetings. I'm still at the point of appointing people because I really want to make sure that it's not too big of a committee, but that it really covers all the demographics of our town.
So who are you looking to make up this committee? Is it going to be primarily elected officials, or do you really want citizen input? It's
really going to be citizen input. In fact, at one of our recent council meetings, I said, I'm really not looking for your normal, what I call the politically active residents. Nothing against them, and obviously they all provide a lot of input into our community. But I'm really looking for the person who may be the soccer coach or the baseball coach or involved in the schools or involved in some of these other civic organizations that may not come across as politically motivated or active, and really looking to cover obviously male, female, young, old, people with children, people without children, to get a really broad consensus of what people throughout the community would like to see done.
You're looking long range for this committee,
right.
But 2012 is a particularly important number. Why so?
South River is one of the 10 municipalities in the state that own their own electric utility. We know that in 2012, due to very varied and assorted factors, mostly the congestion within the state, that our electric rates are going to have to go up again to cover some of these costs. We use much of our surplus to help fund our general fund during the course of the year. So we know that in June 1st, 2012, we're going to see another large increase in the cost of electricity. So we need to determine by then what services we want to provide.
So that you can in turn deal with that when it does arise in 2012. What are some of the issues, the types of services that this committee will actually address? Everything from our trash collection to rec services?
And everything in between, whether we continue to have our own people to collect trash. That was a big issue in 2008 as to where we would go with that. Rec services, what kind of programs are we going to offer? Our Office on Aging, which is very active, what kind of programs should they continue? And also, we have a very large Portuguese and Spanish contingent in our borough now, and we need to reach out to make sure that we're providing services that they feel are important, because everybody needs to be included in this discussion.
And that's an important point. As this committee moves forward, how often will they meet, and at what point will they come back with some results?
Our plan now is to have them meet probably once every 6 weeks till they get their feet wet and figure out, as they spend each meeting, maybe only considering one or two topics instead of all of them all at once. Because the thought process is it's going to be the business administrator and these citizens in basically a very informal setting where they can take the time to really think things out, bring some suggestions to the table, see if they make sense, and work forward from there.
I know that these people will represent the community at large, but will there be a bigger effort to reach out to the 16,000 residents in your community to find out specifically what they want right now and what they want in the future?
That is going to be also, as we get this program underway, what we're envisioning is that, again, that there will be additional meetings where the general public will be invited, but also we're also looking into possibly doing something with our website. I think we're very proud of how interactive it is and the information it provides. Even looking at possibly a survey is saying, oh, here's several of the topics that have been identified. What do you think? And start to get some input there. So we're going to make sure that while this committee is where it starts, that before any decisions are made, the entire borough is going to be involved.
We just have a few seconds left, but oftentimes municipal level decisions are made by the municipal government. Why do you want the public input?
Because I think that the world has changed so much and so drastically here in New Jersey about services and how and with taxes and everything else, that really we need to get as many people involved as possible, because again, we're 7 part-time people, the 6 councilmen and myself. We're residents like everybody else, and we need their input.
All right, thanks so much, Mayor.
Thanks for having me.
We've been talking with Mayor Raymond Eppinger of the Borough of South River. I'm Jill Horner for Comcast Local Edition. What will South River's municipal budget mean for local taxpayers? I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Local Edition. With me this hour is Mayor Raymond Eppinger of the Borough of South River. Thanks so much for being with us, Mayor.
Thank you for having me.
Municipalities across the state are having challenges when it comes to balancing their budget. Yet your budget, you're calling for no tax increases for this year and no reduction in services. How did you find this balance so that municipal taxpayers aren't affected?
We are one of the few municipalities in the state, there's 10 in total, that actually own their own electric utilities. What we do is we return that surplus that is generated during the course of the year back to the stakeholders, who are the ratepayers. And during the course of 2008, we had to make a lot of tough decisions as far as services and things of that nature. We had a tax increase last year. Electric rates had gone up late the year before. So we have actually had to deal with the pain already. And as we promised the taxpayers, if you give us a chance, let us put our programs into place, let us get our financial house in order, 2009 will be better. And luckily, we've been able to deliver on that.
It's never an easy decision to raise something like your electric rates, especially when the municipality runs their own electric services. How was that money then utilized to maybe improve the electric service or used down the line to benefit taxpayers?
A couple different things happened. Number one, we spent over $1 million in upgrades to our substation, to our equipment. We added a couple of linemen. Again, they work for us. When you see somebody working on the electric lines in South River, those are South River employees, not one of the major utilities. Excuse me. So those are the type of hard costs, things that we went into and invested into the system. But also one of the biggest things is the cost of electricity skyrocketed. While we were able then to also generate some additional surplus, again by these efficiencies, by running the municipality's electric in a more efficient manner. We also hired another collections person. So, in other words, we really went about everything we could to make the utility as efficient as possible. Now the residents are reaping that reward. Your
budget cycle runs January to January,
yes.
And moving forward in 2009, what are some of the other challenges that you're going to face as you go into the next budget cycle, especially in light of a reduction in state aid for municipalities?
Well, I'm sure as you're hearing from a lot of the other mayors in the state, the reduction in state aid and the continued increase of state mandates without funding makes our lives more difficult and more challenging every day. There are the paperwork, the forms, the mandates that we have to deal with that are being passed by Trenton on a daily basis do affect us, and they filter down. When you're told you have to do something, and you're not getting the money to do it, you can only go to the taxpayer so much to raise taxes. Therefore, if it's between a state mandated program or a state mandated thing that has to be done as opposed to something that is not state mandated, unfortunately, that's what gets cut or gets hurt. And many times when it's in a town like South River, you're looking at senior citizens, you're looking at recreation, which are the last things that you really want to look at.
What about shared services? I know that you have your own electric service within your municipality, which is a pretty unique situation, but what about other types of services? Are you working with surrounding municipalities, even the county, to make a difference in the services you can provide and saving money at the same time?
We do. Our animal control services are shared with Helmeta. We do have, excuse me, we have a number of programs that we do with the county. One of the issues that we have as being a relatively smaller town surrounded by three very large communities is that when we look into some of the things for shared services, we find out that if we were to combine with them, it would actually raise our costs. Their pay scales or whatever may be higher. So therefore, a lot of people have made the assumption that, well, if a small town, if it just gets absorbed or if there's ways to combine things, that it automatically benefits the people in those small towns. Not necessarily, and we're a good example of that, whether it be dispatching or police services or stuff like that. We do look at all those things, and we find that in many cases, it's not as simple as, oh, we're going to save money. No, we're not.
All right, well, thanks so much, Mayor. Come back and give us an update.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
We've been talking with Mayor Raymond Eppinger of the Borough of South River. I'm Jill Horner for Comcast Local Edition.